Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you are watching Boyd News. Want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a ton of huge news to share with all of you today. So today's date is June 19th, 2025, and it's Thursday. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you're all having an awesome day today. We've got a lot of news to get into in today's war update. We're going to start off with a very big story out of Russia, and we're going to talk about this man here on your screen. His name is Andrei Kilin, and he's Russia's ambassador to the UK. So if you take a look at this new story here on your screen, Russia issues ultimatum to Ukraine: accept Moscow's terms or surrender. Ukraine must accept Moscow's terms to end the war or face continued Russian advances and eventual surrender. Russia's ambassador to the UK, Andrei Kilin, said in an interview on CNN. So allegedly, he stated this yesterday, and it was just being reported today. I'll show you guys a report from the Kiev Independent, and we'll kind of go over some of the things he was talking about. But basically, just issuing an ultimatum to Ukraine to accept all their demands. We know what some of them are. That they want Ukraine to pull away from the front line, give up the regions that they're currently still fighting for right now. That includes like Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson regions inside of Ukraine. They want several other demands as well. They want Zelensky to step down, bring in a new form of government or a new president into their nation, and just so many other crazy demands that we know Ukraine will never agree to. For example, also destroying all Western-made weapons. That was announced recently from Russia as well. So we know a lot of these Ukraine just will never do this, and we know that they will not surrender. And the Russians have been making some advances recently, which is a little concerning. But nonetheless, Ukraine's still fighting strong. So we'll talk more about that some more in just a moment. We also have reports of drones entering multiple regions of Russia this morning, the Nizhny Novgorod and also the Orenburg regions. These are both about 1,000 kilometers deep into Russia. We have reports of an ammo depot that was destroyed in Rilsk in the Kursk region. Also, earlier this morning, I've got video footage of that. And then just numerous other things I want to show you guys. We also had a prisoner swap taking place today. Lots of news coming out. Let's go ahead and dive right into this. Let me start showing you the information today. We'll hop on over here to the Kiev Independent. Ukraine must accept Moscow's demands or surrender, Russia's ambassador to the UK says. You can see the date here, June 19th, 2025, just coming out today. Here's a picture of Andrei Kilin, the ambassador of Russia to the UK. And it says here, Ukraine must accept Moscow's terms for ending the war or face further military advances and eventual surrender. Russia's ambassador to the United Kingdom, Andrei Kilin, said in a June 18th interview with CNN. Talking to CNN host Christiane Amanpour, Kilin said Russia is continuing its offensive and sees no need to stop hostilities, publicly acknowledging Moscow's disregard for U.S.-backed ceasefire efforts. I mean, so the Russians just keep coming out, showing that they do not want peace. They will continue this offensive into Ukraine, and they don't care about trying to achieve peace right now, even though they state that. Comments come as Russia continues to reject a U.S. truce proposal backed by Kiev and only intensifies both ground operations and aerial strikes against Ukrainian cities. We are now on the offensive and Ukraine is in retreat, Kilin said. In May, we have taken about 600 square kilometers or 230 square miles of territory in Ukraine, and we continue to gain more ground. According to open source intelligence group Deep State, Russian forces occupied approximately 449 square miles or 173 square kilometers, or 173 square miles in May, the highest monthly figure this year, but still well below Kilin's claim. Kilin outlined an ultimatum for Kiev: either agree to a permanent ceasefire or on Russia's terms or face worse consequences. For Ukraine, there is a choice. Either they will take our conditions right now, or we will continue this drive and Ukraine will have to surrender under much worse conditions. Yeah, that's basically what the Russian delegation told Ukraine as well at the talks in Istanbul. They were telling them behind closed doors that basically accept their agreement right now and give up the territories they're currently fighting for, agree to several other demands that we know Ukraine would never accept, or they'll have to agree to worse terms. And then that's when soon after they started launching the offensive into the Sumy Oblast, and then we started seeing a lot more Russian offensives beginning at the start of summer. So it's definitely getting crazy over there. Just wanted to show you guys that information from Andrei Kilin today, that they are threatening Ukraine with worse terms here in the future, and they're going to continue the fighting inside of Ukraine. So let's jump on over to X now. Let me show you some things over here. This is from Visioner. Big breaking. An unusual situation is unfolding in Russia's Orenburg region. Local chats are buzzing with claims that Ukrainian sabotage and reconnaissance units have entered from Kazakhstan, while drones have reportedly been spotted near the locations of Russia's strategic missile forces bases. Okay, so here's kind of a map showing where the Orenburg region is at, and this is a very interesting piece of news here. And I have not been able to confirm this, whether these are Ukrainian sabotage or reconnaissance units that came from Kazakhstan. I don't have any information on that, but we do know there were drones entering into this region, so it's not too far from Kazan here. Kazan is where the Republic of Tatarstan is. We just reported on that within the last week. There was drones attacking over there at some bases that produce drones, like some defense industries. And reportedly, we had some drones attacking over here as well. I'm not sure exactly what the targets were, but we did have drones over here. But I'll wait to hear more information on this whole sabotage reconnaissance unit situation from Ukraine that could have come from Kazakhstan. Right now, we can't completely confirm that. Now, Anton Gerashenko, Russian Telegram channels report drones in Russian Orenburg over 1,000 kilometers from Ukraine. What should I do? Locals ask as the air raid alert sounds in the city. So this first video here, we're going to be seeing actually a drone crash landing over here in like an open field. I'm not sure if it hit its target or what it was going after, but you're going to see a lot of mass panic here as a drone's incoming. People are running everywhere. These other videos just basically show air raid alerts going off. So go ahead and take a look at this.
Куда летит? Куда-то к нам?
Сюда, куда-то к нам летит, да. Прям над нами. Блядь, сюда что ли ебашит? Вон, блядь. Стоп. Вот, сейчас сюда, блядь, прилетит, сука. Уши.
So pretty crazy video seeing this drone crash landing over here. I'm not sure if it was shot down. It kind of looks like it might have been, considering it looks like it just lands in an open field over here. But nonetheless, we did have drones attacking in the Orenburg region of Russia, again, in southern Russia, close to the border of Kazakhstan. We got a couple other videos we can show you here as well. All right, so basically here, just seeing air raid alerts. We got one more video coming up also.
Вот как вот не будет страшно после таких звуков. И вот что мне делать? Хватать спящих.
All right, so not too much information coming out from this region yet. All we know is that drones were entering up in this area. I don't have too much information as to what exactly was being targeted, but again, we do know that Russia does have strategic missile forces bases down here located in the Orenburg region. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to another update now. This is from Max 25 at Nizhny Novgorod region. Okay, this is just a little bit north of where Orenburg would be at, up closer to like Kazan and the Republic of Tatarstan. We allegedly had something being struck over here. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but you're going to be able to see a direct strike on probably some sort of defense plant up here in this video. So it's about like 20 seconds. Take a look at this.
Вижу. Катьке звони.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys were able to see that, but at one point you're able to see this drone kind of whip around and then it crashes right over here. Not sure exactly what it was crashing into. This kind of looks like a residential neighborhood. I'm not sure if there was a defense plant over here, but otherwise we did have a drone just randomly crashing over here in the Nizhny Novgorod region. Again, probably about 1,000 or so kilometers away from the border of Ukraine, more central Russia. Now raging 545. Ukraine earlier today hit allegedly a Russian ammunition depot in Rilsk. Kursk, a large fire engulfed the facility with the sounds of ammunition cooking off. Yeah, up in the Kursk region, just north of the Sumy Oblast in Ukraine, we had another strike over here. The Ukrainians have been carrying out lots of HIMARS attacks over here, so that could have been what we're seeing here. Could have been a drone attack as well, but nonetheless, we had an ammunition depot allegedly blown up. Go ahead and take a look at this real quick. All right, we'll go ahead and pause it there, but we can hear what sounds like multiple secondary explosions, probably small arms ammunition being stored in this building over here that was struck and destroyed. And we know the Russians are attacking from the Kursk region into the Sumy Oblast in northeastern Ukraine. So that's why Ukraine's carrying out so many strikes over here, because the Russians are constantly setting up in Kursk right before they move into the Sumy Oblast. So we'll be seeing more strikes over here in the future like we have been recently. Now let's move on to War Translated. Another group of severely wounded and seriously ill Ukrainian servicemen have been released from Russian captivity. This is the latest stage of the exchange under the Istanbul Agreements, the coordination headquarters clarified. Most of them have been in captivity for over 3 years, with many captured during the defense of Mariupol. All suffer from serious health issues. The released individuals include servicemen of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the Navy, Airborne Forces, Territorial Defense, Border Guard, and National Guard. Okay, so again, these are troops that have been in captivity for roughly about 3, maybe longer years in Russia. And just look at them; they're extremely skinny. I've got a video I can show you guys also. Many of them malnourished, lots of health issues as they're coming back from Russia, clearly showing that they're not well taken care of by the Russians while in captivity for as long as they've been there. So it's great to see them coming back home, but it's sad to see that they were not treated with respect in any way, and were malnourished and just lots of health problems when they're returning. So now let's move on to Bliskovka. Every defender released today has serious medical diagnoses and illnesses, the coordination headquarters reports. Many have significant weight loss, dystrophy, ulcers, vision problems, musculoskeletal diseases, cardiovascular diseases, and digestive problems. All those who returned today are privates and non-commissioned officers. A significant part of them were captured during the defense of Mariupol. So we got a video here also we can show you as these Ukrainian defenders were returning back home on this bus. I'm sure they're happy to see their families again, but again, we can see here that many of them are very skinny, not well taken care of, and according to this information, they've got a lot of illnesses and disease. So very sad to see. I mean, look at that man right there. He's very, very skinny and malnourished. So again, these are just videos and pictures coming out here showing these soldiers returning back home, okay? So let's go ahead and move on to some other updates now from War Translated. The Russians also released footage of their soldiers returning from captivity, well-fed and energetic. They quickly boarded the bus. Meanwhile, Ukrainian servicemen come back with significant weight loss, dystrophy, ulcers, vision problems, musculoskeletal disorders, cardiovascular disease, and digestive issues. Yeah, so War Translated talking about that same post that we were just showing you guys. And I want you guys to see the difference between the Russian soldiers coming back and the Ukrainian soldiers. Let me know if you could spot the difference. Take a look at this.
Мы дома!
All right, so based on this video, what it looks like to me is these Russian soldiers are much better taken care of by the Ukrainians. But something I also notice at the same time, too, though, is a lot of them are a lot younger than many of the Ukrainian soldiers that we see. Many of the Ukrainian soldiers are much older. But regardless, these men look much healthier than the Ukrainian troops that come back from captivity. Now, Ukrainian review: among the bodies of the fallen Ukrainian defenders, the body of an occupier was discovered. The head of the Forensic Examination Bureau in Chernivtsi region reported the occupier's body was wearing a Ukrainian uniform, and under it was a Russian one with stars and stripes. It had been lying there for about 6 months. Okay, so this is another report that we're seeing with these fallen defenders that are being returned back home. There's been a lot of reports that many times there's like body parts in these returns of these soldiers that are not even from Ukraine. They're actually Russian soldiers, or who knows? It could be even like just citizens inside of Russia. Who knows? Or maybe even in the eastern side of Ukraine could be people that were killed, innocent civilians being killed in these fights between Ukraine and Russia. Also. But just lots of discrepancies here, and Russia's soldiers reportedly being mixed in with these Ukrainian soldiers that are being returned back home, and it makes you wonder why the Russians would be doing that. Why would they physically put a Ukrainian uniform onto a Russian soldier and actually leave his uniform, his original uniform, on him? So that's just crazy information that we're seeing this coming out from Russia. Now, military news UA, the strikes were not on residential areas in Kiev, but on factories that produce equipment. Putin about a massive attack on the Ukrainian capital on June 17th. Other statements: I am ready to meet with Zelensky. The only question is who will sign the documents. I did not start the war in Ukraine, but I'm trying to end it now. Russia wants to end the war in Ukraine as soon as possible. The best way is peacefully. The Ukrainian leadership itself started the war on its territory, but no one wants to remember this today. Let anyone among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at me. All right, so these are pretty crazy statements coming out from Putin, and honestly, I expect him to say things like this, like saying that he didn't start the war in Ukraine. We all know that he launched the invasion into Ukraine, even though the Russians at the beginning of the war were stating they wouldn't attack Ukraine directly. Then soon after that, that's when they went in, and just so many other things here, like him stating that he's trying to end the war. I mean, yet we hear from Andrei Kalin that they're basically issuing an ultimatum to Ukraine and saying, "Hey, accept our demands. If not, we're going to take over more territory inside of Ukraine, maybe even the entirety." Okay, so they're threatening to carry on this invasion. Yet at the same time, Putin's over here holding a conference and stating the same or the opposite. That he wants to end this war peacefully if possible. So let me know what you guys think on all these statements here. Then him also mentioning they only went after military targets inside of Kiev, yet we had a high-rise structure completely collapsing due to a KH-101 missile that struck it just a couple days ago. I think that was on Monday. I've got an update on that here in just a minute. Now, Savchenko, Volodymyr, the meeting between Putin, Trump, and Zelensky should be the result of long-term work and already prepared points, according to Peskov. That's Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman. The key here is long-term. This is the Russian fundamental approach. Negotiations for the sake of negotiations, delaying the end of the war for the sake of continuing the killings and trying to grab more territory. And they don't give a damn that many of their soldiers will die for this long-term work. Yeah, so that was just a statement from Peskov as well that, there can be a meeting between Putin, Trump, and Zelensky, but they're stating that there's going to be long-term work that's going to be needed and already prepared points that need to be covered before they can even hold a meeting together with these three that obviously Putin would have to join there. And we've been seeing recently that Putin does not want to negotiate directly with Zelensky. He's willing to meet with Trump as well, but apparently not right now. So we're still waiting for this meeting. Now, Volodymyr Zelensky, today I was at the site where a Russian high-explosive missile struck a residential building in Kiev. I honored the memory of those who were killed. The vile attack carried out in the middle of the night claimed the lives of 23 civilians. My condolences to their families and loved ones. Assistance for all those affected is ongoing. The strike is a reminder to the world that Russia spurns a ceasefire and chooses to kill. I am grateful to all partners who understand that Ukraine must grow stronger every single day. I thank everyone who is ready to exert pressure on Moscow in a way that makes them feel the true cost of this war. Okay, so this was the attack that happened on Monday that I was just talking about. This was a KH-101 cruise missile slamming directly into this building, and all these floors completely collapsed. Okay, this is the middle section of this building. These are not two separate buildings. It collapsed right here. People were buried under the rubble. This was Zelensky today coming over here and paying his respects and laying some flowers for the fallen victims over here. Very horrible attack, guys. This missile slammed right in the building and caused all these floors to collapse, and we had 23 people losing their lives just in this one attack alone. Now, for more translated, it has been exactly 100 days since Russia rejected this basic first step toward peace. 100 days of Russian manipulation and missed opportunities to end the war. 100 days during which Russia has intensified its terror against Ukraine instead of stopping it, says Andriy Sybiha. So this is the foreign minister out of Ukraine. The Minister for Foreign Affairs of Ukraine reminded that Ukraine unconditionally supported this proposal, but Russia continues to reject it, persisting in its war and terror. Okay, so he's commenting on the fact that 100 days ago, Ukraine had agreed to an unconditional ceasefire in this war, and Russia still rejects it till this day. Clearly, they want war. They want to carry on this invasion into Ukraine, and they're not willing to stop anytime soon, just like we had that report today from Andrei Kalin, the ambassador of Russia to the UK. Now, Max 25, a ban on mass events, has been introduced until July 4th. There is a high probability of strikes on objects in the region, according to Poltava OVA. That's like their regional administration out of that area. This may also happen in other regions. Okay, so it looks like they're preparing for another massive attack here very soon, especially in the Poltava region. This is like in northeastern Ukraine. Yeah, we've had attacks over here before. We've had gas infrastructure being destroyed. Lots of strikes carried out in Poltava. It looks like they're expecting more attacks here very soon, and maybe another massive missile and drone attack like what we saw this past Monday on Kiev. Now, Max 25, Finland's parliament votes to withdraw from convention that bans the use of anti-personnel mines, according to Reuters. Sweden approves a historic boost in defense spending to meet NATO's 3.5% GDP goal, partially funded by public borrowing. Okay, so two major reports here from Finland and Sweden. So Finland is going to be withdrawing from the Ottawa Treaty that will allow them to place anti-personnel mines on their border. I think it's right for them to do that, considering the fact that we're seeing a massive military buildup just over the border into Russia, right near Finland. So they're probably concerned about an attack over there, and that's pretty much all the nations right on the border of Russia and Belarus that are starting to do this now. All the Baltic nations did that. We've got Finland now doing this, including Poland. They've all been mining their borders. And then Sweden is going to be boosting their defense spending to meet NATO's 3.5% GDP goal. Okay, and that was announced just the other day from Mark Rutte. They're trying to reach a 5% GDP defense spending goal between all of NATO, and 3.5 is going to be like core spending on militaries in those nations. Now, Max 25, the Ministry of Defense has codified and approved remotely controlled combat module Shablia. I don't know if I'm saying that right. MK19 or M for operation. The module is designed to fire from an automatic grenade launcher of 40mm caliber. The system is integrated both into ground robotic systems and into vehicles. The module can fire direct or indirect fire, hit the enemy by coordinates from close positions, and can be controlled by one operator. Okay, so this is another unmanned system, like a ground drone or unmanned surface drone. It's kind of what they call them, or surface vehicle USVs. And they've got all kinds of different drones they're using, okay? Aerial drones, FPV drones, now these ground-based drones. They've got naval drones. So here's just yet again another addition to Ukraine's unmanned system forces. So pretty cool to see that. Now, military news UA, the Ukrainian armed forces have repelled a large-scale offensive in the Donetsk region, destroying 18 units of Russian armored vehicles, 13 assault motorcycles, as well as Russian infantry during an attempt to surround Kostiantynivka. All right, here's an update out of the Donetsk region in southeastern Ukraine. The Russians are still trying to launch large-scale offensives in that region, but it looks like Ukraine was recently able to stop a massive attempt for the Russians to launch another major attack. And this was a video coming out. It's kind of a snapshot of that video showing all these destroyed armored vehicles and tanks, okay, from the Russian side. Now, for Bliskovka, the SSU detained a Russian mole who was spying on Ukrainian Neptune complexes. 33-year-old soldier recruited by Russian military intelligence was exposed by the SSU's military counterintelligence. He was supposed to transmit the geolocation of Ukrainian Neptune anti-ship complexes in southern Ukraine, after which the Russians planned to strike with kamikaze drones and cruise missiles. The agent was detained while preparing a report for his handlers. He also planned to coordinate shelling of Ukrainian armed forces training centers. Perpetrator faces life imprisonment with confiscation of property. So it looks like Ukraine's SSU was able to prevent another sabotage attempt trying to locate Ukrainian Neptune complexes. Okay, this is a cruise missile that Ukraine uses to attack Crimea a lot, sometimes attack near the Kerch Bridge as well, even down in like Krasnodar Krai regions of Russia, like southwestern Russia. Sometimes this missile will attack in that direction. Yeah, allegedly he was trying to spy for the Russians and try to give information so that way the Russians could strike these complexes. And yeah, just yet again another report of a sabotage attempt from the Russians. Now, from NOAA reports, the EU plans to boost aid to Ukraine by moving nearly 200 billion euros of frozen Russian assets into riskier investments, aiming to increase returns without touching the principal, avoiding legal challenges while funding Ukraine amid ongoing conflict and budget strains. Okay, so here's a report today. EU devised a scheme to squeeze more profit from Russian frozen assets, putting 200 billion euros of Russian funds into riskier investments would boost payments to Ukraine without touching the underlying capital. So it looks like they're trying to move this money around into riskier investments so that way they can utilize the funds that it produces to send this money over to Ukraine and increase the amount they can send to Ukraine without having to mess with this principle of the amount of money sitting in banks in Europe. And we're still waiting to see if Europe's ever going to send this money over to Ukraine, but it looks like they want to keep it within the banks in Europe for right now, but they're just trying to find more ways to utilize that money and get extra cash out of it to send over to Ukraine. Now, from next to North Korea to send 25,000 workers to Russia for drone production. Pyongyang may deploy up to 25,000 workers to a drone factory in Yelabuga to help boost Russia's drone output, NHK reports. The goal, train North Koreans in manufacturing and operating UAVs like Garan. At the same time, Ukraine intel says Russia's helping North Korea build strike drones, some of which may be shipped back for use in the war. Shoigu just visited North Korea again and confirmed 6,000 more North Korean workers are heading to Russia. Okay, so yeah, we're hearing more ties here between North Korea and Russia, and all at the same time, we're having this war happening in the Middle East. Iran's getting pounded right now by Israel. A lot of their defense industries are being destroyed over there. And, this is going to make it difficult for Iran to supply Shahed drones over to Russia. So I wonder if this is also why Russia's getting help from North Korea to produce these drones now, because Iran's basically cut off, most likely, from even sending these anymore, because they're going to need them for themselves now in this fight against Israel and possibly even the United States very soon. So yeah, we've also been seeing Sergei Shoigu, the deputy of the National Security Council, or secretary of the National Security Council, he just showed up in North Korea twice in the last month. Okay, so these are all the results we're seeing of those meetings. It's based on this information right here. Okay, so 25,000 workers coming from North Korea to help Russia build drones in their nation. Now, Kyiv Independent, Russia on the verge of recession. Russian economy minister warns, according to current business perceptions, we are already, it seems, on the verge of a transition to a recession. Russian economy minister Maxim Reshetnikov, if I'm saying that correctly, that's what he said. Okay, so Russia's economy minister warning that Russia's on the verge of a recession. Now, we'll see what happens, but we have been hearing that their economy is not doing well, especially with the collapse of oil prices. But right now, over the past few days, oil's been rising back up because of what's going on in the Middle East. So that will probably benefit Russia, at least in the short term. And maybe that'll help them out with their situation with their economy right now. But otherwise, we know Russia's in a very tight spot. So it would not surprise me if they fall into recession. Now, Ukrainian review, NATO has tested means to counter Russian guided glide bombs. It is expected that it will strengthen Ukrainian air defense by the end of 2025, Defense Express reports. Moreover, not only fight against KABs, which are guided aerial bombs, but also about protection against other threats such as Shahed. Okay, this is a huge report because we know these glide bombs, like what you see right here, these things slam into Ukraine all over the place, and they're being dropped sometimes by the hundreds every week. Sometimes we see 800 or more of these striking into Ukraine, and Ukraine doesn't really have a way of countering these. Okay, they're very difficult to shoot down, and they can glide for dozens of kilometers. So the Russians can fire them from their territory before they even strike into Ukraine. And apparently NATO has tested some sort of system that can prevent attacks from these things. Okay, they can probably shoot them down or something. So we'll see what happens with that, but that's very big. And on top of that, looks like they might be able to help out with other threats like guided aerial bombs, maybe even Shahed drones. So I'm waiting to see what happens with that. That's a very big report. Now, from Max 25, Trump left the G7 summit early because of Zelensky and Macron, according to the Financial Times. According to sources familiar with the negotiations, the real reason for his departure could have been irritation with Macron's actions, in particular because of his visit to Greenland, and public criticism of Trump's idea to establish control over the island. The publication's interlocutors also noted the American leader's lack of interest in meeting with the Ukrainian president. Now, that's interesting because we heard that Trump was leaving early because of the tensions going on in the Middle East. But now the Financial Times are reporting it's not because of that. It's actually because of Zelensky and Macron, because of Macron publicly criticizing Trump's idea to take over Greenland, apparently. He also made some comments that Trump didn't like. In regards to what's happening in the Middle East, Trump was commenting on that yesterday. So it seems like he is frustrated with Macron as well. And then in terms of Zelensky, maybe he's expecting Zelensky to come and tell him, hey, I want more weapons and whatnot. Maybe he doesn't want to supply weapons to Zelensky at all. So he's trying to avoid speaking to him. And maybe he doesn't want to supply these weapons, what I'm thinking. But we're hearing that possibly coming up over the next few days here when we have the NATO summit at The Hague, Trump and Zelensky might meet, and we'll see if Trump even shows up over there based on what's happening in Iran right now. We could have a massive war breaking out over there. Now for Max 25, Ukrainian air defense shot down 88 out of 104 Russian drones, including 40 drones shot down and 48 UAVs suppressed by electronic warfare. So there's your daily update. The amount of drones going into Ukraine last night, 104. It looks like 88 of them were brought down, either shot down or suppressed by EW or electronic warfare. We didn't have too many reports of damage inside of Ukraine last night, so that's good news. So allegedly, we did have some drones crashing in Ukraine because they didn't bring down all of them, but a good amount. Now from Kiev Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of June 19th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Here's our final update of the day. Russia's losses as of June 19th, 1,080 troops, 8 AFVs, 108 vehicles and fuel tanks, 4 tanks, 63 artillery systems, 64 UAVs, 2 special equipment. Okay, so overall still pretty average numbers here, not major fluctuations, maybe a little bit higher artillery systems, more than normal. We usually see 20 to 40 there at the most. But aside from that, not too much. So I'm curious if maybe tomorrow over the next day, or maybe by Saturday, Friday or Saturday, we might see these numbers jumping up, the tank numbers and AFVs, considering that we had that report to the Donetsk Oblast today in Ukraine that the Russians tried to launch a massive attack and the Ukrainians thwarted it. So we might see a major influx in numbers on tanks and AFVs. But aside from that, again, not too much fluctuations here. Still pretty basic numbers that we have been seeing for the past several weeks now. Okay, guys, so I want to thank you so much for being here for today's update on June 19th, 2025 on Thursday. Hope you guys all have an awesome day today. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.